Madam President, first I want to thank my colleague, Senator Lee from Utah, for his leadership on these issues, trying to make sure that the legislation we pass is legislation they will all have the opportunity to participate in. I've been disappointed that I'm on the committee that deals with the Postal Service, and we didn't even have a vote on this. I didn't have any opportunity in the committee to propose an amendment. It doesn't look like I'm going to have an opportunity here to have my colleagues vote on an amendment, and I don't think that's right. The amendment I'm going to talk about today is co-sponsored by Senators Johnson, Grassley, Braun, and Langford, and I want to thank them for their support. I absolutely support getting something done to reform the Postal Service and ensure it's more accountable to taxpayers. Unfortunately, the bill before us doesn't do that. This legislation would add at least $6 billion in new costs to Medicare without any plan to pay for it. $6 billion, no plan to pay for it. And at least $5 billion to our federal debt, a debt that's already surging above $30 trillion. I think we all should say that's unacceptable. This bill doesn't reduce costs. It just shifts them from one unfunded government program to another unfunded government program. And let's remember, Medicare costs are already skyrocketing, further jeopardizing Medicare as a disservice to the 60 million Americans, including the 4.5 million Floridians who rely on it. My amendment would fix this. It would just require the Postal Service to pay for any new cost to Medicare that this bill will bring. This bill will ensure that Medicare isn't used like a piggy bank, that the taxpayer and future non-postal retirees aren't forced to bear the burden of this Postal Service bailout. And the Postal Service should pay their fair share. Madam President, I want to make this next point very clear. My amendment's germane, and it deserves a simple majority vote, and it deserves a vote. I'm thankful I have the support of groups like 60 Plus and the Association of Mature American Citizens that represent the interest of America's seniors, and I urge my colleagues to support this. Madam President, I ask unanimous consent to set aside the pending amendment and call it Amendment 4933. Further, that the amendment be reported by number, and there be 2 minutes of debate, equally divided on the amendment, and the Senate then vote on adoption of the amendment with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Madam President, reserving the right to object.
Senator from Michigan.
Madam President, I oppose the Scott Amendment, which would gut the bipartisan Postal Service Reform Act by nullifying the Medicare integration proposal. Medicare integration is an absolutely key part of this bipartisan bill to provide long-term financial stability for the Postal Service. My colleague, Senator Portman, spoke recently about why these criticisms of Medicare integration are simply unfounded. This bill simply provides for future postal retirees who have, may I say, who have already paid into Medicare throughout their entire career to enroll in Part B and Part D. Roughly a quarter of postal retirees do not enroll in Medicare, even though they are eligible. This means the Postal Service is stuck paying higher premiums. This bill simply allows the Postal Service to do what other businesses and employers already do all across our country by integrating these retirees into Medicare. This saves the Postal Service money and saves taxpayer money. This bill reduces the deficit over 10 years by nearly $1.5 billion. CBO has also made clear that the bill does not affect the Part A trust fund and will not have any effect on Medicare Part B or Part D premiums. Postal workers are already eligible for Part A, and the number of new postal workers going into Part B will be fewer than 40,000 individuals, and that compares to 62 million people currently in the program. The Postal Service Reform Act does not harm Medicare. It provides savings to the Postal Service and to taxpayers. It allows the Postal Service to survive, regain stable financial footing, and keep delivering for every single American. And we need to stop delaying this bill. We need to pass the bill. Madam President, I object.
The objection is heard.
Madam President.
Senator from Florida.
Madam President, reserving the right to object. Here's what I believe. We need to do everything possible to protect America's Medicare recipients and stop bankrupting our essential programs. Senator Johnson has told me repeatedly, he's been asking for years. The Postal Service says they're putting all this money into Medicare. And he's added a simple request. How much money is the Postal Service paying for Medicare, and what are the recipients of the Postal Service receiving in benefits? No one can ever get an answer. I asked for a CBO score. They said this is going to cost at least $6 billion, and it's going to increase our deficit by at least $5 billion. So we have an unfunded program in the Postal Service, and we're going to move it and hurt our Medicare recipients. So my amendment, and what I was told, that this would not cost Medicare anything, so my amendment is pretty simple. Whatever the incremental costs of Medicare are, it should be paid by the Postal Service. I mean, it's the Postal Service retirees. They're the ones who ought to pay for it. So I don't understand why we wouldn't want to do this. It's what I was told it was not going to cost anything. And by the way, the CBO score that is out there that already says it's going to increase our deficit, and it's going to put our Medicare program in worse shape. They can only do it they can only give us numbers for the first 10 years. After 10 years, the numbers are going to be worse than even the numbers I've told you about. So what I don't get is, one, why didn't we vote on this at committee? Why didn't we have the opportunity to do an amendment there? Why don't we have an amendment vote on this on the floor? It's common sense. I would think all of us would want to make sure we're not going to bankrupt Medicare, and all of us want to make sure that if it's going to cost Medicare anything, the Postal Service should pay for it. Madam President, I yield the floor.